I actually want to tell you that this class is about how to literally redeem the fire that's already within all of us. And it's just such a struggle sometimes, because there's always like this Yetzer Hara that comes in our way and just makes us feel like we're not good enough, not managing enough, not perfect enough. And it really tries its best to steal that fiery, passionate love that we all have buried deep within us, to connect us to that like really geuludic feeling of just feeling alive and happy. And through all the process of life and challenges, sometimes, you know, people pushing our buttons, or, you know, falling short of the level that we so have been wanting since maybe kindergarten or whatever. These little like secret ingredients will help us really protect ourselves from that kind of challenging Yetzer Hara energy that tries to steal that fire away from us, and help us understand more and more and more after this class how Hashem is so love-sick over us. Period. Just, He is. We don't have to prove ourselves to God. We don't have to like feel depleted and defeated if we're not 100%. As we always know, only tzaddikim are 100%. Meaning only tzaddikim have been born without a Yetzer Hara. Hashem is love-sick for us, period. There's a story that we all know, Eliyahu, Hanavi, when he was communing with Hashem, and he was telling Hashem like what's been going on, like the real deal of what's been going on with the Jewish people. And Hashem was so not happy that a single like ounce of any negative information was given against the Jewish people, that he hailed rocks for like 3 hours on Eliyahu Hanavi. He was so upset. Like, how dare you speak anything about my precious, amazing children? After those 3 hours, believe it or not, Hashem then again said, do you want to retract what you just said? I'm giving you another chance. And again, Eliyahu Hanavi just did not budge and said, but the people, they're not honoring you, and the people, and they're this. And Hashem was like, oh, I had it. Like, I'm done. You want me to start over? You're out of here. And basically, Eliyahu Hanavi was fired from his position because he spoke not good about the Jewish people. That's how love-sick Hashem is for us. He's so much love-sick for us that He gives us all these mitzvahs. You know, He gives us these opportunities to be connected to Hashem. Like many years, trust me, when I had to tie my shoes right or left and right, and figure out what I have to do even when I tie my shoes, I was like, come on, give me a break. Let me have some breathing moment to like tie my shoe the way I want to tie my shoe. Like, leave me alone. Like, you know, even for that, I have to be dictated over. This was before Hasidus. This is when I had this like very interesting relationship with God. Hasidus teaches us Hashem is so lovesick for you that when you tie your shoes, He wants you to think of Him. How many times as a counselor I hear women telling me, my husband never calls me. He doesn't even send me one text throughout the day. And Hashem is saying, please, please, I'm so sick for you. I want a text. Like when you tie your shoes and you do the left first, you're going to think of me, and I'm going to then think of you, and this, we're going to have a relationship. So the mitzvahs is about Him being lovesick for us. We know also that He wants to reward us like so much and give us. So, because if it was only 5 mitzvahs to do, then how much can we gain? How much can we connect to Him? How much can He reward us? So the amount is so that if we a little slip here and if we a little slip there, then we have that many more opportunities So it's a totally different mindset of our connecting to Hashem through our Torah and mitzvahs when we see it in this way. I remember learning in Tanya.
I can't close it because you're on.
So maybe, yeah, let's, one second.
You want to move all the tables down? I know. How are we going to get, how are people going to, I think you can do it.
Yay! I'll squeeze in more. Okay. So, I remember learning in Tanya how as high and holy as our soul is, one extra mitzvah elevates our soul infinitely. Imagine someone asking you for directions and just being kind and not only saying where it is, but pointing to that place. How that has such an impact on our soul. Like our soul is raised infinitely. We're that much closer to Hashem that moment. So the question is asked, if our soul is so high, why is it that we need all these Torah and mitzvahs to make it higher? And it was so fascinating if you read in Tanya the explanation. Our soul is needed, of course, to keep us alive and to keep us functioning down here. But our mitzvahs are like fuel that gets consumed and like gives us an ability to get higher and higher and shine even brighter and brighter. Let me explain. And it's the message of the Hanukkah lights. Right, if you had a menorah and you had oil, but you didn't have the wick, it wouldn't work. Right, if you had the menorah, the wick, but not the oil, it wouldn't work. Like imagine, put the oil, put the wick, all the oil will just like spread, and there was no way to get the wick to get on fire. So our body is the wick. Our Torah and mitzvahs is the vessel to be able to contain the oil, Hashem's wisdom, Hashem's Torah, and then our soul shines. Then we're on fire. So if we're just body with a soul, and we don't have a constant flow of oil, Torah and mitzvahs, then there's no way that the Shekhinah can catch on fire on our body, as it were. So then we don't feel our fire. Then it's buried. Then we're just kind of like this body, because the godly soul just goes to sleep. It needs a constant flow of Torah and mitzvos to keep that Shekhinah on fire. That's why the most wise men would say that they would look at their, they would constantly like look at their heads to see where their eyes are. Like any other person, you would ask, like, of course, you don't have to look where your eyes are. It's on your head. So the eyes were constantly looking above on their head. Did they have enough oil, as it were? Did they have enough Torah and mitzvah so that the Shekhinah could reside on their head, as it were? This is the fire. This is the fire within us. And this gets ignited, and it becomes like ignited and so powerful. As Alter Rebbe also says in time there, like, what is Geula? Geula is when you are free to access all the gifts that God gave you. That's Geula. Hashem gave you a fire of love. Hashem gave you a fire of compassion and kindness and awe, wonderment. All these positive emotions are there. We don't have to take a space shuttle, go to the moon to like try to find a new, better version of ourselves. We're the best version here. It's just a matter of revealing it, igniting that fire, making sure there's that constant flow of Torah and mitzvahs to keep it aflame. So that's why it says in the Torah that you should circumcise your heart, and then it says you should circumcise the foreskin of your heart, and then it says, like later on, and Hashem will then circumcise your heart. We just have to do the little steps needed to minimally at first remove the layers that are clogging us, our systems, that don't allow that fire to be alive and kicking and thriving. So the circumcising the foreskin on our heart is different than God circumcising our heart. The foreskin is the klippedic, animalistic, negative tendencies. Just pay attention where you have a little weakness. Make a cheshbon nefesh that you really want to rectify and work on this. Dayenu. Take the time and remove that from your heart. Now this foreskin is different than the heart. Once we actually do a little baby steps to rectify and tame these holy energies, we don't have to get rid of them actually. We just have to channel them. And the passion of whatever's negative within us, if we channel it into the positive, then we become redeemed. So for instance, if someone's really an angry type of personality, then they just have to use that angry, gevuridic element in a positive way, with being fiery and passionate rather than fiery and angry. So really a person who has a lot of anger has a lot of fire and is a sign of how holy they really are. It's just a matter of channeling it. So these are the outer garments of our soul. This is not who we are. So once we make that effort of doing that, then what happens is God then circumcises our heart. The essence of the negativity that's in our heart, He will then change. So we don't have to do all the dirty work. We just have to do a little effort, like a baby wipe down, you know. He'll do the Clorox. He'll do the nitty-gritty hard work with the, you know.
Can you give an example a little bit? Like something that we do a little and the Shem does.
Yes. So right. So for instance, there's a meditation you can do every day in the Siddur where it talks about these burning, passionate angels. Like look, it says srafim. Srafim comes from the word the sraf. They're so passionate. They're burning. So just even stopping there and contemplating on how they're so so full of fire. This actually, the Rebbe Yerushalmi says in Kuntras HaAvoda, at that moment when you're contemplating that, then your soul is also being burnt up. All your animalistic negative tendencies get burnt up from that moment of meditating on how the angels are so fiery in passion. And the Sikha of the Rebbe, actually, so cute. The Rebbe was telling a story of, imagine how a person that's a common villager and goes to the king's palace versus an officer of the king that lives in the palace. The villager would be like, oh my gosh, I'm getting invited into the king's palace, and he's like in wonderment, and then he comes home and he's on fire. He's like so passionate about his experience. He can't stop, he's so animated. He's like, you can't even imagine, it was so amazing. And he's used to a hut. He's never seen such grandeur of the palace, and then to have the honor to be next to the king. So the more we contemplate and graze, constantly. I always tell my husband, I'm a grazer. I can't eat too much at one time. I just can't. I have to graze. Well, basically we have to be like that with Hashem. We constantly like feed and feed and feed our soul and gaze at His miracles, at His like the gifts that He gives us and His greatness, and that passion begins to grow, and gazing also at the way the angels serve Hashem with this passion then ignites that kind of passion within us. Just like we say, in the scientific world right now, there's this concept called neural pruning. And let me explain what it is. Just like when you prune a garden, right? So that you take out the weeds and then the beautiful flowers and all the, beautiful garden can grow. Our brain is like a garden. And technically speaking, scientifically, they have shown that if you don't do this type of work of filling your mind with positivity, it basically goes on cruise control on old tapes of your past. Literally your childhood, what you heard, what you felt like, just like constant.
Makes sense.
So when you flood your system with positive, like an image of these amazing angels and how they're burning with fire, or just like a little villager and you have this image of him being so excited, he's at the king's palace, and you relate to it and you think of it, that is flooding your system with positive imagery and positive thoughts. Then what happens? The neural pathways that were on automatic start to become obsolete. Like imagine a big, thick pathway with bricks. And you're like, nope, I'm taking this brick, putting it there. I'm taking it. And eventually this new pathway to the king's city is built up. There's no path to the dungeon of the wicked one. The Yetzer Hara. The animalistic side of negativity. So then your brain is on fire with all these positive ideas. Then thoughts create emotions. Then you have positive emotion as a byproduct. Then you feel the fire, you feel the happiness, you feel the love, because your thoughts will lead you there. Chapter 3 of Tanya. The thoughts give birth, Chochmah, Bina, and Das gives birth to all the 7 positive emotions. I always tell people, we don't have to take the animal soul, chain it up, and drag it to go with us. It'll be a natural byproduct when you just begin to flood your system with these positive thoughts. So it doesn't have to be such hard work. It's not like you have to conquer a city. It will become your ally. It'll become your partner together. Kind of like if you had this dog and you just like show them a piece of steak, it'll come with you. So you show the steak of Kedusha and you said, this is amazing. It starts to want it too. And it starts to actually remember, because its source is from the highest world, Tohu, and it's so holy. And it's so fiery. It's compared to the limited godly soul. That's why the godly soul wants to come down, harness this like power of this animal soul, because it needs it. It needs the fire of the animal soul to reach such great heights. So there's a story of Abraham, as we know, and we go back in time, and Abraham actually tells his wife, please tell them you're my sister. Like he finally, the Mefarshim say, passed the river, and for the first time he sees a reflection of the beauty of his wife. Yeah, and he didn't know before. So finally he says, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, they're going to want you. That's how tsanua and how modest he was. And next thing you know, the Mefarshim actually question, like, what? So it doesn't make sense. Like, he, you know, why Avram would say such a thing, you know. But the Rebbe actually gives a deep message of why he said this for us today. Everything in the Torah is like forever, and a message to us of how to live our life with that fire. So, as you know, there's two different types of relationship mainly. There's the type of relationship between, you know, brother and sister, which is a sisterly, brotherly type of love. It's natural, it's instinctual. And then there's the passionate love between husband and wife. And so when Abraham was telling his wife, as it were, tell them you're my sister, he was saying to himself and to everyone. Can I show Elements Cafe stuff? Wow. Okay, I'm going to have to do a little PR break here. If you ever go to Tzvas, you have to have the Elements Cafe food. This is with chickpea flour. And
flour,
rice flour, and so delicious.
Spices.
Onion and Indian spices. Elements.
Tomato chutney.
Oh, and some Indian food here also. Every time I come here, I can't get enough. Healthy and delicious. Okay, break time over. Anyway,
Everybody can help herself.
I wish you were here. I'll send it to you. Anyway, so Abraham is saying to us forevermore, you have a sisterly love with Hashem. It's natural, it's instinctual, it's an inheritance. Hashem gave it to you as a gift. But it's like, only gets you to a certain place. And it's not really to your credit. So rather, try to develop a wifely relationship with Hashem. The wifely relationship is a passion, but it's work. It doesn't happen. Hashem gives it to us before marriage. He takes it away after marriage. If you read my book on reaching new heights, kindness in marriage, okay, there it is. Why not? Yay! So, and it talks about how Hashem purposely gives us like this koach to see the fire in the other, to love them, to be like stir crazy, or feel that that's it, I can't live without them. And then He takes that away after marriage. And it's the part of our soul called the chaya of the neshama that helps us see this good in the other and helps us feel this passion and love toward them. But then He takes it away after the marriage. And then we have to then reignite that fire on our own terms with our own effort. But in our relation, from a new
pathway.
Yes, a new pathway. Our own pathway. Right.
Exciting path.
Right, that was right. So that's the same thing. We have this.
It away, and then you have to.
Yes, like imagine the Baal Tshuva type of people. They feel the passion. Hashem plagues them with this connection, and then after they become Baal Tshuva, they become a little flat. And like, where was it? Where did it go? Because now they have to work on it on themselves. Now they have to use their mind, meditate, pray, learn, and get deep to get it exposed. Mi mamakim karaticha. There are many layers that we have to, on this earth, get rid of to get to the deep essence. And then Hashem does the rest. So Abraham was saying, now I'm traveling. I'm not going to have so much time to learn, to meditate, to contemplate like when I was back at home. I need to rely more on my sisterly love. And I'll have to make do. Trust me, when I'm traveling, I have to, it's hard sometimes. I have my regular schedule. I'm certain time learning, certain time davening, certain time dancing away with Hashem in song and dance. And then when I'm traveling, it's like, I have to be over there, hour, and people all around me, so I can't like do my normal thing, and I can't sing out loud in the taxi or sing out loud. Like, so I have to rely a little more on my sisterly love. But the passion, the fire, is so much grand, but it takes a little more of an effort, a little more of a personal touch that you end up bringing it alive. And let me tell you, Hashem is so lovesick for us. And when is it most ignited, Hashem's lovesick for us? I'll show you in the back of this book. I actually write about it. 259. Yay! And it talks about how on Shabbos that Hashem's love sickness is reignited. Like he just elevates us like automatically. Woo! Of course, the more you did the meditation, the learning, the davening during the week, the greater the elevation will happen, and the greater like spiritual sensitivity you'll have during Shabbat. And you'll more feel your extra soul. And the more you feel your extra soul, the more the next week it pours into the next week. Well, this also happens for you and your loved ones, because it's a mirror of what's going on between you and Hashem, then gets poured into and helps you and gives you the strength to have that connection with the people in your life.
Which direction is it going to go? How you work with your marriage and your life?
Yeah, the chicken or the egg question. I think it's both ways, definitely. But we know when it's our part and we do the work first, arusa dilatata, when we're doing the arousal from below, it ignites just a greater fire. Yeah. So that's why, you know, when you just think, you know, Hashem created the world within the 6 days with speech, and then he stopped talking, basically, you know, to create Shabbos. So what we have to connect to is like, where can we also a little stop talking to create peace in our lives, to have more Shabbos in our day-to-day life during the week as we're entering and getting ready for Shabbos. Like how many times, like between husband, yeah, like literally Hashem created the world with speech and he stopped speaking for the power of the peaceful Shabbos to enter the world. So it's like a lesson in life, like there's a time to speak and speak great words of love and passion and only as much as possible positivity throughout the whole week. And then all of a sudden, like there's such an elevation, there will be such a peace from all that effort in using your words in a positive way. And every time you refrained and didn't speak, how much more so also the elevation. Do you know that when you don't speak in a reaction to some like challenging moment, you have the whole world on your shoulders? Meaning like the whole world is in existence because of you. And that you have the power to ask anything you wish for. So if it's a person that's really challenging, just wish for them to be godly and more on fire in a good way.
Oh my God. It's Yom Kippur, I think.
It's incredible. Such incredible power. So let me talk about the two fires. So we talked about the fiery, passionate love that we can have with Hashem, and then we have like the sisterly love with Hashem, but this also is in relationship to our loved ones, everyone. But especially, let's a little delve into the husband and wife thing. So the woman has a lot of fire, and the man has a lot of fire. And you can write down this equation. 5 plus 10 equals 20, and 5 plus 10 equals 10. 5 plus 10 equals 20, and 5 plus 10 also equals 10. Let me explain. In relationship. This is the key, like on one foot will be the key to your redemption in all your relationships. So there's this woman, and she has Hashem's name in her word called Isha, Hey. And the Hey is 5. It equals 5. Now her 5 is a lot of fire, of like gevura, of knowledge. She has a certain type of knowledge, but she only has 5. But her 5, like the hay, is broad and it's developed. Now, the husband has a fire, and he has Yud in his name. Yud is 10. but the Yud is puny.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, men, if you're out there listening. Well, women have 5, but they're missing the other 5. And the man has 10, but it's like not developed. So when husband and wife do Torah and mitzvahs together, when they're united physically, when they are learning together, then there's this holy fire of the Shekhinah, and it melds the two together. So 5 of hers and 10 of his equals 20. Because she will have 10 and he will have 10. They will be developed and whole and complete. That's why man and woman need each other. And this happens in all relationships, not just with marriage. There's a story. Miriam, prophetess, sister of Aaron? Look at it in the Torah. Rashi explains like, well, yes, it should have been really Miriam and Aaron, but, well, Miriam was his prophet before Moshe was born. Rebbe says yes, but that's such a good night on Moshe Rabbeinu. If anything, say Aaron and Moshe, but to keep Moshe out of the picture. So the Rebbe actually explains that Miriam was humble to Aaron, even though Aaron was a younger brother. She respected him, honored him, treated him like king. And through doing that, the qualities of Aaron grew. The qualities of Rodef Shalom, because of her. Then, her qualities became on fire, and she absorbed and benefited and accrued the qualities of Aaron that weren't even hers. So the Rebbe says in all relationships, right? Marriage too. When we're humble, when we're bittul, when we're treating the other like a king, whether it's our children, whether it's our husband, as the pasuk says, be humble before every person. And the Alter Rebbe actually says, don't just act like, well, I'm like, okay, but back, I'm like, yeah, what a loser. No, mamish, feel humble that they're so great. Because then the qualities in them become your qualities. Your qualities then become redeemed, and the whole world is a better world. So if you have a chance to study with your husband, if you have a chance to do a mitzvah together, and you have this contemplation, especially now, lighting menorah candles, coming up, sitting by the candle, meditating on this fire. Another word for Shekhinah that rests between the two people that are melding the two, but, fire also melts away the bad. So another name for Shekhinah is Esh Ochelet Esh. So that this holy fire ends up melting away the unholy fire of the other. So I tell people, stop doing pointing. It's my duty. Invite the Shekhinah over. Go take a break. Literally speak less. Let the holy fire eat up the unholy fire. Let the holy fire meld the two together. Done. Why work so hard? Why get a headache over it? Our words are going to make a difference? Nobody likes to hear criticism. I don't know if I told you, but one time I was in a class waiting to speak on a line conference, and the person before me said, there's 3 rules to criticisms. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. It doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. 100% agree. Let the Shekhinah do the work. Let the holy fire do the work. I've seen miracles by going this route. Honor, love, kindness, compassion, as Aaron Cohen did to the wicked ones, and they became tzaddikim. And this started so many years ago, literally, Adam and Chava, when it first started. Let me tell you what cycle You know, it's amazing. It says that Adam was alone and it wasn't good for him. So Hashem created from himself the ribs of Adam, Chava. But like if you really look into it, he wasn't alone. He was communing with Hashem. He was freely walking about, talking to angels. He was able to communicate even with the animals. So what was it? Why was he alone? He didn't really feel needed by anybody. And what happened? He was so upset with still feeling not needed, even though Hashem gave him this beautiful wife, that he like closed the door and went into the room, as it were, and like was in a vegetative state of morose and self-pity and he didn't even commune with his wife. When Hashem said, tell her not to have the apple and give her the law, he went like, blah, 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 didn't really like pay attention to her, spit it out basically, and like closed the door and said goodbye. Like, how many of us know this type of situation in many of people's lives? He was in his own psychic misery, that he didn't have like the wherewithal to connect to another soul. She then felt like a loser. She felt, wow, like I'm not loved. And then the snake, like, oh, I mean, he's talking to me. And so then she ends up, the snake representing materialism, saying maybe this will make me happy, maybe this purse will make me happy, maybe if I go shopping, or maybe if I eat that cheesecake, and that will make me happy. But that didn't make her, that was not going to make her happy. But she felt like I need something to numb the pain. And then what happens? The rest is history. And it happens again and again. And so we see the other person's fire, the not holy fire, the imprisonment of the other, and then we take it personally. Mm-hmm. And then we close our doors, running after I don't know what, to appease that burning, empty, heartache feeling. And then we become a fire in a not good way, whether by putting ourselves behind closed doors, or mom is putting gasoline on the fire by being too netzach, too aggressive in getting what we wanted in a wrong about way. Kli Yakar actually mentions this. When Hashem was about to give the Torah, Hashem said, I'm done. I'm giving it to the woman here first, because last time I first gave it to a man, look what happened. And that's why when Moshe Rabbeinu was about to get the spies, Hashem said, L'da'atcha, in my opinion, go send the women. And Kli Yakar actually says that had Moshe kind of took the advice of Moshe Rabbeinu to send women, we would have had Mashiach, because they would not have come back with a bad report. Why? Because we women have that extra bina. We have that extra wisdom. Bina allows us to like really like take that information, that godly information, and actualize it. Bina takes us to that next level. So just like a woman is built, she has thicker thighs, she has the ability to develop the seed of a man into a child, so too does the woman have that extra strength to carry the burden and to develop the positivity, the fire of her husband and her whole family. Literally, just like the stomach of a woman can expand and carry that extra koach of another, so too a woman's mind has the ability to expand and accept and be impregnated by Hashem's seeds of knowledge, and then give birth to this love and this passion and this fire. She has that capacity. That's why actually women light Shabbos candles, because they have the power to bring out the light in their family members. But what happens is many women take personally the fire of the other, the not so good fire of the other. They get burnt. They don't protect their heart. They don't protect their mind. They take it in. They get burnt and they close themselves off. That's like the best situation. The worst, as we said, they become like gasoline on a burning fire. They have to just take a deep breath, take a little step back, breathe. That you get out of the situation with emunah, with bitachon, with knowing that the Shekhinah will rest in the home. And it will do the dirty job. We just have to bring our chaya, our holy soul, that was once there in the beginning of our courting, that then leaves us. We need to refine our anger, our sadness, our negative garments of our soul, so that the Shekhinah will rest by us, so that our fire will look constantly in our head. Let me bring them that coffee or whatever they want. It's an extra oil for my fire to be on fire, not to make calculations. How many times women don't want to go to the mikveh because they had a whatever that morning? They don't want to go that extra mile because it would let them get away with or whatever. You make a paradigm shift. This is the opportunity for me to have the Shekhinah within me, within the house, so I can be on vacation. I don't have to work so hard. So I want to tell you that this all began during the time of Midian. Let me tell you, this teaching that I was privileged to read and connect to healed my soul on all levels. Literally. It's called Baseless Hatred. And it creeps in a lot of different ways in our life. And it'll help us understand other people, so we won't take it personally, so we will be fortified. Not an armor around our heart and make us cold and bitter. An armor of Kedusha, so that the arrows of other people that come stringing along here and there won't touch our heart, so that our heart will be on fire and do the right thing because it's the right thing, without calculations. In Echalzu, it actually talked about this baseless hatred. And what is this? Some people might call it jealousy, but it's as simple as this. A person exists, and it ends up threatening the other person. And they feel threatened. And so they come up with all kinds of calculations and all kinds of machinations. And they end up with strife and distance. And it's only because you exist. It has nothing to do with you personally. You go somewhere, they reject you. They don't like you. You try to say something positive and share, and they completely can reject you. You try your hardest to connect to your children, even your husband sometimes, whatever, in situations, and you feel like you're getting nowhere. And then you take it personally sometimes. And then you become not as willing to go the extra mile, not as willing maybe to shine your light. And the light becomes, and the fire becomes a bit snuffed out. So if we realize that this comes from Midian, this comes from something that's, beyond who we are, and did we do it right, or what's wrong with me, or what's going on here, or all kinds of interesting calculations. We can throw those away. And we can say, no. I'm going to be the one to keep my fire. I'm going to be able to rise above this and be a shining example of what it is to be this passionate and this soul fire, and being able to then really navigate the situation in a completely different direction. Because when we take offense, when we have these calculations, again, then it's really us women who have that strength more than anybody. God again and again said, choose the women, the women, because we have that strength. But we have to take the actions, like we just learned here, how to make sure that that fire doesn't get snuffed out or buried. And how do you do that? If you look in the last couple of weeks of Parsha, when it talks about Yitzchak and digging wells, actually it's an amazing book, Words of the Living God. It's Torah Or, translated into English, and such a blessing. I'm so thankful to Rabbi Yitzchak David Wagshaw. And it starts with a couple of weeks Parsha ago of the whole story of digging wells. The digging wells, back to where we started in this class, is this idea of our efforts to make sure the earth of life doesn't clog our systems. The hurtful words by other people, the Yetzer Hara self-flagellation of feeling like we're not like we want to be, like we lost our standard, that, oish, woe is to me. We got to do the digging of the wells. And what is that? Tefillah. Tefillah actually gets rid of all the coarse, icky, earthy barriers. Tefillah is circumcising your heart, getting rid of the layers. And then we learn a little Torah after we daven. And that's the well springs of Hashem's Eden waters. Eden, not Gan Eden. Mamish, we have the power to draw forth into our kishke, into our well, into our body, the light of Hashem's wisdom, like water available to us as our dehydrated soul throughout the day needs, like a body needs water throughout the day. Our soul needs to be hydrated. But if we don't have a well, and we didn't collect the waters, then what happens? Like the menorah that is absent, the oil goes everywhere, the wick goes there, and then there's no way to catch the fire. So the same thing, I give an example, like $1,000 bottle of wine, and you start pouring it into the palm of your hand. How much is going to be left of it to drink? So the tefillah actually allows the Torah knowledge to be contained, so that throughout the day, every little mitzvah you do hydrates your soul. But most women, they look at me sometimes like, are you kidding? I wake up, I go to work, I barely have dinner on time, and no way, I can't fit even 3 minutes. I said, maybe wake up 2 minutes earlier. No, I want to sleep 10 more minutes. I'm like this already, I wake up so early. I tell them, I try to plead with them, don't sue me, please. If you go to an architect and you actually ask them, build me a 20 billion, skyscraper, but can you do me a favor and I need to save money and do a Play-Doh foundation. Make the foundation out of Play-Doh. Look like, what? I tell women, you're building your whole day. You need this vessel, you need this well to be dug. So that throughout the whole day, your soul is on fire. So that your godly soul has the nutrients to override what's happening in your life, especially in relationships. So, when dealing with people, We have to, one, understand their negativity sometimes toward us is, one, a very high sign of how holy they really are, but they haven't really channeled it. Two, they have maybe, lacked the vessel to be able to contain that fire. And then the Yetzer Hara gets to this koach and it ends up being used in a destructive way. Brings me back to the story. Amazing story. Do you remember the time when the Bas HaKohen took the commanding officer into the Mizbeach? She had the key. And she went in with the key, with the commander that led to the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And she started kicking the Mizbeach and saying, "Wolf, wolf!" Like, what chutzpah, right? Anyone would see that, like, okay, you gave the key, but now you have to kick the Mizbeach? Do you have to go that low? Like, hello? You're in the Beit HaMikdash and doing that? Like, come on, how low can you go? The Alter Rebbe and the Rebbe explains this story in an incredible way. When she was kicking that Mizbeach and she was crying, "Wolf, wolf, how many, karbonos have you swallowed? Ha, ha, ha. Where did it lead you? Look at this destruction." It wasn't that. It looked like that. Everyone on the outside saw it like that, whoever did see it. But Alter Rebbe says, no. She was doing such tshuva. She kicked that Mizbeach saying, where are all the sacrifices that came to this earth here? Why didn't it protect me from this moment of having done such a deed? Many times things look on the outside, oh my gosh, so opposite. So opposite. And we can make our calculations and our judgments and say, how low can you go? Many times it's a cry of, I want to connect to you. I want to be with you. But it comes out in such a negative, harsh way. We have to put the... I remember, I think it was the Baal Shem Tov's testament, where he says we need to put on the Baal Shem Tov's glasses, the way he would see a situation. We can do that. We could say, just like looking at this woman kicking the Beit HaMikdash, wolf, wolf, and it wasn't. She was doing tshuva. How come these korbanos didn't help me this moment? How come I failed? We don't know what's going on in the other. So if we can rise above, put on those Baal Shem Tov spectacles, those glasses, see it as it is, then we have the ability to rise above. So, let's not go through the math. 5 plus 5 does not equal 10. And 5 plus 10 doesn't equal 15. We have to get out of our normal mathematical mindset. And we have to see that what we do really, when we get to that level of humbleness and respect and honor and love, and just let our fire of our connection to Hashem lead us the way, then we can help the other and their fire grow. And then we're fire by fire. And then we're two holy fires within ourselves. Then we're unbelievable reaction of positivity, not only in your own home, in the whole world. I have to read this story, and it was a story just about this. It's amazing. His name is Rabbi David Lapin, and he was actually in the Yechidus with the Rebbe, and he was going to the Rebbe with all this kind of question, he's way doing too much. I mean, I don't know if we can go in. He just was doing a lot for Hashem, and he felt like he was shortchanging maybe his family, he was shortchanging himself, it was just too much. And the Rebbe's response was beyond amazing. So he says, the Rebbe says, I tell you what your difficulty is. You think that human interaction is like a chemical reaction. but it isn't. In a chemical reaction, there are two elements which interact with each other, and they result in a third compound. But people aren't chemicals. When people interact, the result is a nuclear reaction. A nuclear reaction occurs at the core, and then it radiates in a spherical rather than a linear way. As the outer rings of your sphere gets bigger and bigger, the number of people you are touching gets bigger and bigger, and indeed there's no limit. Because when you touch the heart of one person, there's a nuclear reaction. Because that person in turn touches so many other people. So each person you touched, even if it's for a moment's interaction or non-reaction, even a moment of silence, of not being a gasoline on that fire, it represents, in terms of a nuclear reaction of the impact. That's what it really is. That's what it really is. Because at that moment, when you're interacting with another person, with your holy fire, and whether that means keeping a little quiet and just listening, you know, the word listen, if spelled with the letters rearranged, it's silent.
What is it?
Silent. In order to really listen, you have to be silent. It's an art. Let them speak. Let them unburden themselves. Don't have a quick reaction of what you feel like you need to tell them. This is a nuclear reaction. And it'll be explosive. You will not regret that moment of silence. You will not regret the nuclear reaction, not only in your own life, but like in the whole world of how it's impacting. So I want to bless all of you that we keep the fire alive. We protect our hearts from others' negativity, so our fire will shine. When we gaze at the Chanukiah and we see the vessel that's needed, the Torah and mitzvahs that are needed so that the wisdom of Hashem can flow and flow, so that the Shekhinah can catch on our fire, so that the fire of what Hashem already gave us will be more on fire, that it'll be never ending, always growing and growing and growing. And that we should literally be very happy that we're women. Feel very blessed when we say that blessing every day, because Hashem is lovesick for all of His people, but He's very, very lovesick for us women. And trust us, because He knows we can do it, and we are doing it. All right. Thank you for coming. I would love to. I see hands being raised. I'd love to answer any questions he's got. I should be able to.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Oh, is it?
What happens when you say things the opposite is not you say things and remain silent?
So what I try to help people realize that at that moment that, you know, sometimes it's just not going anywhere. You know, you're right. They're being silent. You're trying, and they're just like blocking you off. I really highly recommend to do a meditation with this pasuk. This comes from the Zohar that the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya. The pasuk is LeYaakov Asher Pada Es Avram. Let me explain this story of what's this pasuk about and why we can LeYaakov Asher Pada Es Avram. I'll translate. Yaakov, do you remember the story where Abraham was fighting the kings and Hashem said, wow, what an anacle you will have, Yaakov. In the merit of Yaakov, I'm going to redeem you, Abraham. Hashem looked into the future, saw that he had such a gavaltic grandson, and he said, in the merit of this grandson, I'm going to now redeem you. So the Zohar teaches us that Yaakov represents compassion. Yaakov in the Sphira. So that if we access, our compassion on another Jew, we have the power to redeem the Avraham buried within them. The fire of love of Hashem buried deep within them, we have the power to redeem. So if you see that they're being silent and not like reciprocating your warmth and your fire, and that happens a lot with children and teenagers especially, because they're struggling. Adam was struggling. It wasn't like he didn't like Chava. He was struggling. So we don't take it personally first. Second, we can just, okay, accept it. Meditate. Think about them. Have compassion on them. Like I say, when you see a puppy stuck under a car, would you get all mad that it's stuck? It's stuck. They're stuck. Don't take it personally that you have to come bend and pick that puppy out of the car. So you might not be able to physically get someone out of their stuckness, but your mind has more power than a zillion hands to lift up weights. You're connecting to Hashem, your emunah, your faith in the pasuk Yaakov, Asher Pradas Abraham, is so powerful of a secret ingredient to melt away their unholy fire. Your thoughts have incredible superpower. Grab the opportunity. Don't take it personally. Visualize that they're coming closer to you. They're warming up. That their fire of negativity is melting away. And that will make you feel so much better. Because you have a partner to rely on, Hashem. And His Shekhinah is yearning and longing to do the work. You just have to let Him in. So, I pray that we all have that quiet moment in the morning to really build and dig that well, to have that vessel, to allow all the Kedusha to ignite our fire so we can ignite the other. Fire by fire, Mashiach Techavu Miyad Mamash, a nuclear reaction. By us being here together in the holy city of Tzfas. Can you believe it? I didn't even think I was going to be back here so soon. It's such a gift. Thank you to like really put this together. Really, Rami, thank you. And Elements Cafe again. May this be a chazaka very soon, again and again. So we can do a meditation if you want. I brought the music, but I hear the other music. Maybe I'll just use the other music. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. So let me just get my music thing here. Makes me want to dance. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Handy dandy Mashiach technology. I hope it's loud enough because I hear the other music.
Is it over?
Yeah, we're going to do a meditation. No, we're going to do a meditation.
Oh, we're still meditating?
Yeah, we're now going to meditate. On the holy fire.
Before the meditation starts?
What?
Well, Jessica, if anyone needs anything?
Anyone need anything?
No, we're excellent.
I don't think this is going to be loud enough with the background music.
Quite full breath. No.
No, it's not loud enough. Okay, we'll just like go with the flow here. Okay. Our soul is our music now. Our soul's on fire! Oh my gosh. Reminds me of a story of Esther Youngrice. Wow, Soul's on Fire. In her book, actually, I think her book is called Soul's on Fire. And she talks about her, like, Misrus Nefesh of her whole family to, like, save Jews in the concentration camp. And, like, Misrus Nefesh, literally, like, risking her lives, bringing the keys or whatever documents. And she was saying, like, back in those days, like, we did such self-sacrifice to save the body of the Jew. In this generation, thank God we don't have that, but we can do the same type of Misrus Nefesh to save the soul of the Jew. And starting with our own home. There's always great and greater, like to bring more fire of love into our Dalet Amos of our own home, more compassion and more love. And the soul on fire is contagious. It just really does bring a lot of warmth and love to everyone else. So let's just close our eyes and just like connect to that fire. And with every breath you take, just really experience the breath of being alive. Such a gift. Such a gift. And you know, the word neshima is from the word neshama, our breath. Like how much Hashem used His breath to create us. How much are we going to use our breath to create peace and harmony? How much of our breath are we going to use to create a bond with the other, with Hashem? And we access our neshama as we use our breath. So, take a deep breath, pay attention to that breath. How much you want it to be on fire with Kedusha. How much of your breath, when need be, not be used to create a space of peace. Do some exercises to help your body become more relaxed. I'll explain later why it's so important to be in a relaxed state. Basically, the brain does not like new knowledge. It's on overdrive, it's stressed out, it can't handle new knowledge, it doesn't want to integrate new knowledge, but when it's in a meditative, calm state, the brain's highway system kind of like slows down, and then it's more open, and it just basically facilitates integration of knowledge when the body is more relaxed. So meditation really helps you access that ability to actualize the knowledge. So just like maybe like make a clenched fist and like tighten the area and like release it in a count of 3, and then literally feel the tension and stress leave your body in that particular part. And then you can clench and tighten your toe, all your toes, just tighten it. And a count of 3, you can let it go. All the while taking the most amazing, deep tzfas breath. And just let go and relax. Feel the body just completely beginning to slow down. Almost feel like as your feet are touching the ground, it's like digging roots into the tzfas holiness, like just flowing kedusha from the touch of your toes into the holy ground. And like feel like the kedusha is like being lifted into your body and being slowly absorbed. Like feel the flow from your toes all the way up your legs, reaching your thighs, and even your stomach organs and your internal organs are beginning to feel calm and relaxed. And it's moving its way to your heart. It's just like really helping your heart begin to beat slower. Just all the negativity melting away from this holy energy, from this relaxed state. layers and layers of clogged systems are just melting away from this holy moment of having learned together. Even say a little prayer that like whatever like has been hardening your heart, like that Hashem should just, with this holy fire of this knowledge that you just learned, that it just like melted away. Literally, figuratively see your heart, the crust of the negativity that may have been accumulating, just melt away.